about you guys, but I live my life a quarter mile at a time. Outlaws, adrenaline junkies, asphalt dogs. Always a few feet from death, a few moments from victory, and a few inches from scrubbing the undercarriage on the concrete. Off book, off the beaten path, and outside the law. We make our own rules. We're racers, and these are race wars. But if you roll with me, we live by one creed. Family, fast cars, and fat ass. Fast 5 is, you guessed it, the 5th installment in the Nickelback of movie franchises. Well, more like Creed of movie franchises. Spanning 24 years with 10 films and a spin-off, and a combined box office of $7.5 billion with a B dollars. It sits solidly among the most commercially successful franchises of all time. After a successful street racing film, to a second installment with less street racing and missing its central star, to a third installment with no stars and a 40-year-old high schooler street racing in Japan, to a fourth installment resuming the original story and bringing back the original stars in an unexpectedly grounded and tense, car-heavy revenge flick. I remember seeing the trailer for Fast and Furious in theaters with Brian chasing that guy through like a building or whatever, and then he like jumps through a window. I had no idea it was a Fast and Furious movie until like the reveal of the other characters. I wasn't even familiar with the franchise for real at that point. And like, I remember everyone being surprised. And the end of Fast and Furious leads directly into Fast 5, which I consider to be the second best film in the franchise. After taking a critical piece of a cartel's network off the board and avenging his dead girlfriend, who is, definitely dead. Like 100% dead for sure. Just like all of the other people who have died in this franchise.
Nice clubhouse.
Anyway, Dominic Toretto is headed off to begin a 25 to life sentence at Lompoc, but his crew can't let that stand. Brian, an FBI agent, throws away his career and any hope for a normal life to track down the transport bus that I hope is full of people on death row, because everyone on this bus is fucking dead for sure.
High-risk inmates.
Everyone on board has been accounted for, except...
By accounted for, she definitely means their dead bodies. This movie is like 14 years old, and I guess the giant white locational title over an establishing shot wasn't standard in movies in 2011. So, let me pop it in for you guys. Also, I'm sorry, it's 2011, so, dubstep. Brian, Mia, and Dom have split up to make their way to Rio separately. And it turns out their contact in Brazil is none other than Vince, one of the original cast. He's slumming it up in the favelas in the hillside of Rio, full of crime and young Brazilian men slathered in oil carrying automatic weapons. Bro's basically got a whole Epstein Island set up.
What?
Mia and Brian shack up with Vince and his squeeze, Rosa, and guess what? Mia's got a little Mitsubishi Lancer in the oven, but Brian doesn't know yet. There's a car job coming up. High-end cars. An easy grab for seasoned vets like themselves, and Vince knows they could use the money. The cars are on a train. A commercial train. With passengers. That is moving.
Not a great plan.
Okay, well, he lied. Anyway, Dom's here. Hell yeah. Alright, let's go. So, let's see. There are 3 cars and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess if they're gonna do like 2 to a car, that would work. Alright, well, change of plans. The Brazilian man in charge wants to take the GT40, but Dom makes an executive decision and has Mia take the wheel instead. And the man lets it happen, considering that they'll all meet up in the same place and then they can just take the car there. Now let me call a 30-second timeout. I gotta stop here because Dom is the entire reason for this movie happening in the first place. Vince knows this guy, knows he works for Reyes, probably he has to. Mia isn't in any danger. It makes no sense for them to kill them after the heist because none of them know the GT40 is important until Reyes' right-hand man announces he's going to drive the car himself. The only reason to put Mia in the car is to steal it, so they have some sort of leverage. But that also makes no sense because stealing from a cartel is basically the best way to guarantee that they're going to kill you. Anyway, as soon as Reyes' henchman sees Mia driving in the wrong direction, the entire operation goes tits up. Brian hops on the flatbed to fight the driver, and Dom does battle with the two henchmen left on the train while the DEA agents scramble to stop the heist. The flatbed driver crashes into the train. And now there's a bridge ahead ready to splatter Brian, who's hanging off the crash truck that is hanging off the train like some sort of a mechanical dingleberry. Dom comes to the rescue, driving a convertible right out of the train car. Dom and Brian pull off a stunt that will become easy peasy lemon squeezy in every future Fast and Furious. And then they avoid getting crushed and instead drive over the edge of a cliff at least 60 miles an hour and fall into a lake. For some reason, the cartel is waiting on the riverbanks for them, and they get to meet the King of Rio, live and direct. Reyes tells them all he cares about is the car. Like I said, he has no reason to double-cross them like in the initial. Like he had no reason to skimp out on the money for the job, because the chip is clearly worth literally $100 million more, so...
This roofing plastic says you're full of shit.
Yeah, yes, good catch there, Brian. You guys are for sure gonna die now. Even though I don't know what roofing plastic is, Brian. I mean, I've heard of painter's plastic, but I've never heard of roofing plastic. What would you use roofing plastic for? I mean, there's roofing felt that, at least at this point, is entirely of the synthetic variety, especially for any kind of new build. But I've never heard of roofing plastic. And I wonder why that is. It doesn't exist. You know what? I'm starting to think that you don't know anything about roofing, Brian. They escape the cartel very easily and meet back up with Mia. Unfortunately, they're being blamed for the deaths of the 3 DEA agents, and now the US will be sending its finest street race wranglers after them. But first things first, they have to find out what's in the car that Reyes wanted. Under cover of darkness, Diplomatic Security Service agent Luke Hobbs and his crack team of Hemi hunters, of diesel dogs, and of Mopar marauders are here to kick ass and take names.
It's about power. We stay hungry, we devour. Put in the work, put in the...
Okay, time out. Let me hit you guys with some knowledge real quick.
No, God! No!
The Diplomatic Security Service is real. It's the primary law enforcement arm of the State Department, or Department of State, they're interchangeable names, which is the diplomatic arm of the US government headed by the Secretary of State, who is currently Marco Rubio, formerly Antony Blinken, and John Kerry, and then Hillary Clinton. So, you know some of these names. It's an important position. They're like third in line of US succession. President dies, vice president dies, the next guy in line is the Secretary of State.
Wrong!
It's responsible for advising the president on foreign relations, protecting citizens abroad, negotiating international treaties and agreements, doing diplomatic missions, etc.
Did you just mispronounce etc.?
Now, the DSS's primary function is protecting the assets of the State Department. Personnel, intel, and, conducting investigations around visa and passport fraud. It also conducts counterterrorism, cybersecurity, counterintelligence, and other associated investigations. For example, it was created after the bombing of a U.S. embassy and Marine barracks in 1983 during the Lebanese Civil War. And now they're sending them to Rio to track down 2 car thieves who are blamed for the death of DEA agents.
You serious?
Anyway, time in. Hobbs ain't fucking around. He's taking our boys seriously. He knows their history and how perfectly suited they are to escape the corrupt clutches of Brazilian law enforcement.
But why? We have many more experienced people.
I like her smile.
Yeah. I bet you like her smile, you son of a... Reyes is in a high-rise, entertaining criminals and preparing to launch into a monologue.
The Spaniards arrived, guns blazing, determined to prove us boss. The natives killed every single Spaniard.
Okay, time out.
Oh, brother!
This is, in fact, not a true story. Let me hit you with some more knowledge.
Don't you do it.
I'ma do it.
Don't.
The Treaty of Tordesillas divided the New World between the Spanish and the Portuguese. A line of demarcation called the Tordesillas Meridian divided the spheres of influence. Portugal took the east and Spain the west. The indigenous peoples of Brazil never expelled the Spanish because the Spanish never had any significant presence in that region, and certainly no concerted colonial effort, or, like everywhere else, they would have colonized them. And coincidentally, the Portuguese probably did come with trinkets and mirrors, but primarily they showed up with African slaves after a brief initial period where they primarily used indigenous peoples as slaves to harvest Brazil wood, which gives Brazil its name. But anyway, go off, King. Finish your monologue. It was pretty good.
Dominate the people with violence. They will eventually fight back because they have nothing to lose. And that's the key. I go into the favelas and give them something to lose.
So, Dom and Brian are stripping down the GT40 when Vince shows up. Brian wants to know where he's been, and Vince claims Reyes' boys were all over the favelas looking for them and he had to wait them out. And Dom believes him, but Brian knows he's a goddamn rat. Later that night, Dom catches Vince red-handed, elbow deep in the cookie jar as he tries to get the chip Reyes' men are after.
Get out!
Hobbs and his boys are doing investigation shit when the translator, Officer Elena Neves, shows up, and she wants to know why Hobbs chose her for the team.
My smile is not that great.
Are you sure about that?
Hobbs and Elena get briefed on some intel about the missing GT40, and when they seemingly hit a snag, the disappearance of the tire tracks, Elena lets them know where they can pick the trail back up. Dom and Mia crack the case on the chip Vince was going to take. The entertainment center from the GT40 contains pre-programmed routes to several locations. Hobbs' team arrives in the favela and immediately get into a standoff. Hobbs brandishes his revolver, the only firearm he's carrying, with no speed loader in sight, so I'm afraid you're outgunned by your average nurse from Georgia that carries a pink Glock 17 in her Toyota 4Runner. Aside from that, for some reason, Hobbs' team manages to mog them, and they let them through.
I thought so.
And, there it is. 100 million plus in cold hard cash, moved from stash house to stash house. They kick in the door, but the fast crew are already making their grave start. And now it's a 3-team foot race across the rooftops and narrow streets of the favela. Just when Reyes' henchman thinks he has Dom dead to rights, his men get killboxed by Hobbs' women. On the roof, Brian and Mia jump through the roof of the most rickety shed I've ever seen, and, just like that, they escape. Dom wants them to split up, and Brian agrees reluctantly, but Mia drops the bombshell. She's preggo, with a little Mitsubishi Lancer Jr., and there's nothing more important to a Toretto than family. She's not splitting hers up. Dom then devises a plan to take every red cent Reyes has. One heist to rule them all. The end game of heists. And if you're doing an Asphalt Avengers, you're gonna need a team. With the team assembled, they formulate the plan for taking down Hernan Reyes. Namely, attacking a cash house and spooking Reyes into moving the rest of his money into a more secure location. They rob the stash house, and they want it known. They showed their faces in 4K. And instead of stealing Reyes's cash, they go full Joker mode.
All you care about is money. This town, it deserves a better class of criminals.
Immediately after the event, the man at the cash house reports directly to Reyes. So Reyes kills him, because that's how criminal organizations work. Everyone that fails at any point for any reason gets murdered. That's a great way to do things. Didn't Caleb City do a sketch on this?
Well, then call all the janitors and maintenance people to fight them. Dead. You killed them all last week.
Anyway, Dom's team posts up outside the cash houses and tails the transport vehicles to the new secure location. And what do you know? It's a police station. And with a little access to some public blueprints, they formulated an Ocean's 11 level plot to infiltrate the police station. First, Roman Pierce.
Two fail. No. I'm not fail. Two fail.
Two fail.
The least charismatic wisecracker of all time.
That's the legs, baby girl. What time do they open?
What?
Drops off evidence to be taken into lockup. And then the demo experts are up. They fake their way into the police station so they can...
What the fuck?
Oh, hell no, bro.
Jesus Christ.
A shit bomb? A doo-doo device? This is disgusting. Bro, that's nasty as hell. Anyway, they create a shit bomb as a diversion to shut the bathroom down so they can cut into the bathroom wall, expose the plumbing and thus the wiring, and place a sniffer or whatever the hell it is to patch into the security feed. It turns out they can't loop the security feed, it's like digital or something, so they'll instead have to beat the oscillating cameras. There's a 10-second window, and that means they need to go get the one thing we're all here to see. Ass. Cars. My bad. Cars. They need to get cars. They come back with a Porsche Cayman GT3 RS, but unfortunately, it's not enough. So that means a montage and more cars to test with more drivers. While they try to beat the cameras, they also have to beat the biometrics on the safe. So now the Chameleon is up. But it turns out the Mossad agent wants to tag along on that mission. They do some cringe body language reading before Giselle goes directly up to Reyes and, I guess, asks him to grab her ass.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
I mean, this works, and honestly, this might be the most realistic thing in this movie. After being blacklisted, burnt, and exposed by Hobbs, Dom calls an audible, drawing out Hobbs' team to a car meet for a confrontation on his turf.
You're under arrest.
Arrest? I don't feel like I'm under arrest.
I'll just give it a minute. It'll sink in. And the guy took the oath of a cop and then went against everything it stood for. Or some wannabe tough guy prick who beat a man half to death with a socket wrench.
Really tough. I don't think so.
Your mistake is thinking you've got a goddamn choice, boy.
You're a long way from home. This is Brazil.
After placing a tracker on Hobbs' vehicle, they manage to circumvent the problem of beating the cameras by stealing some cop cars. They're going to stealth their way in with theatricality and deception. They have a street race for $1 million that Brian wins, even though they're all in identical cars, and Roman cheats to get an early start. And they're racing in a straight line. Like, bro, come on, what are we doing here? Anyway, Vince is back, and he saved Mia, so apparently he's now welcome back at the cookout.
I beg your pardon?
Not the black one, just this cookout. The team is safe and happy and...
You gotta be kidding me! What? No way! What? I got goosebumps!
This fight is what happens when an unstoppable fight clause meets an immovable contract. Literally, they are contractually obligated to have a draw here. Either way, it's actually entertaining. Reacher does Hossfest better, but this is honestly pretty damn good. We even get a German suplex through a glass window. I mean, what more can you ask for?
However, the fight ends when Dom decides not to cave Hobbs' head in with a wrench and decides to get willingly arrested instead. But Reyes' men ambush them with RPGs, taking out Hobbs' entire team.
With actual...
Dom's team and Elena Negas beat back the attackers, and they escape. But not before Vince suffers a mortal wound. Back in the compound, after an emotional send-off for Vince, Dom decides he's gonna do the damn thing, regardless of the consequences, and Hobbs is ready to go one-on-one with the Great One, along with Dom. And it's on. This is a direct frontal assault, a Hail Mary. They drive the Gurkha directly through the wall of the police station. They hook the safe up and, with two clapped-out chargers, drag the safe from the wall, through the parking garage, and out into the mean streets of Rio. And 10 films in, this is still one of the best car sequences they've ever done. You can feel the weight of the safe, dragging them, slowing them down, screwing up their handling, sparking through the streets. I mean, whether or not it's actually following the laws of physics, it does feel like a physical presence. And here come the A-Team, ramming, slamming, and pit maneuvering the corrupt cops all over the place. And, definitely killing more than one of them. But the Charger twins are now on the highway, and there's no way to outrun the police in a straight line. So Dom sacrifices himself, remotely unhooking Brian's car and taking on the rest of Rio alone. Hobbs rolls up with Elena, casually dropping the hardest murder and one-liner combo in the entire series.
It's for my team, you son of a bitch.
With the cartel defeated, Hobbs grants Dom a 24-hour window before he resumes his chase. But of course, the money in the safe has to stay there. But guess what, buddy? You got double faked out. I don't know when they could have formulated this plan.
So forget about it, cuz.
Anyway, the safe is empty. And that can only mean one thing. They're rich. Roman gets an escort and a Koenigsegg, and Tej gets a garage and a Koenigsegg. Han gets Giselle and the doo-doo bombs get a casino visit. Dom gets Elena, and they all get a happy little family. But after the credits roll over a terrible song, Eva Mendez's fine ass shows up in Hobbs' office to throw a wrench into the mix. It looks like little Dominic's bedtime story might be turning into a nightmare. Anyway, that's all I got for you. I'll see you later. Peace.